It's dirty. I love working.
Join us right here on CVM TV every Sunday during news at 7 as we explore the people, the science, and the breakthroughs that are shaping the way we grow, eat, and live. You don't want to miss it. This is Farming Forward.
So it was the turn of the opposition leader Mark Gordon on Tuesday to make his 25 hours ago. It was a 3-hour-long presentation by the opposition leader, and he dove into several issues, he says, that are important to the country right now. And as he went along, he mentioned several plans that the PNP administration, the next one, intends to implement to, as he says, lift the country from the doldrums. In case you missed it, though, just what were the planks on which the opposition leader built out or sought to build out the PNP's vision for the country for the next 5 years?
With 2 speeches left to go in the 2025-2026 budget debate, opposition leader Mark Gordon stepped up to the wicket on Tuesday to make his contribution. Greeted by supporters clad in orange, Gordon delivered his speech in the heat of an election year. He outlined his party's vision for addressing the housing crisis, alongside promises to improve education, the welfare of public servants, healthcare and infrastructure, but not before accusing the Andrew Holness-led government of being the real, quote, run-with-it administration, claiming the Jamaica Labour Party has failed at leading Jamaica to its full potential. What's the main highlight of his presentation, you ask? Well, Gordon made an ambitious promise that, if elected, the Housing Agency of Jamaica, HAJ, would take the lead in the development of low-income housing, with a target of building 50,000 affordable homes over the next 5 years. These homes, Gordon stated, will primarily consist of 1-bedroom starter units, designed to provide an accessible entry point for many Jamaicans struggling with housing affordability. The opposition leader also spoke about broader social reforms, particularly education and public sector support for homeownership. Gordon promised a comprehensive package of benefits for these sectors, which he said would ensure they receive better opportunities to thrive. A key component of Gordon's 3-tier housing plan was his proposal that the PNP would establish a Young Owners Deposit Fund of $1 billion within the National Housing Trust for persons under the age of 35 to access $500,000 towards their deposit, as well as a rent-to-own program for informal workers. He also said the PNP will exclude the cost of land from the prices of houses built by the NHT, making homes more affordable and accessible to contributors. So, with general elections looming, does the opposition leader's promises represent a clear commitment to addressing Jamaica's pressing issues? Or is he being overambitious as critics question the feasibility of his bold plans? We discuss on Lead Story. Courteney Lewis for Lead Story.
Thank you, KL. After the break, my guest.
It's tradition. Agriculture is evolving like never before. From the latest sustainable farming technologies to age-old practices passed down through generation, agriculture is
precious to me.
I love the animals. I don't mind getting my hands dirty. I love working.
Join us right here on CVM TV every Sunday during news at 7 as we explore the people, the science, and the breakthroughs that are shaping the way we grow, eat, and live. You don't want to miss it. This is Farming Forward.
People, we now waste no time.
I am super excited to be on for another season to show you the holy road.
Listen, new adventures. Slim, Fluffy. Let's go. We're not going out, you know. Things are only getting hotter and hotter this season.
Click, pow. That must tell you something.
There's a great story happening just in our backyard. We are on the holy road again.
Story. All right, so I'm turning to the former president of the Jamaica Civil Service Association. He is also a former board member of the National Housing Trust for his informed perspective. I'm also hoping to be joined by political commentator and veteran journalist, and not veteran in the sense that he's old and has nothing more to give. He's very much still in his element, the outstanding Lloyd B. Smith from Western Jamaica. O'Neill Grant is with him as well. O'Neill Grant, good evening. Welcome to Lead Story.
Hi, George. Good evening, and thanks for having me.
Excellent. Happy New Year to you as well. It's the first time I'm talking to you since 25.
Indeed. Same to you too, George.
Excellent. Lloyd B., are you hearing me? Not quite yet. All right, fine. Well, let's go. Just your overall thoughts on the presentation in terms of what you saw Mr. Golding try to achieve and whether you thought he did indeed achieve them, or it.
I think, as most persons have said, that the presentation around the housing solutions was quite engaging. There are a lot of things inside there that would excite a lot of persons. But for me, personally, given where we have sat, many of it is not really new. There are a lot of things inside there that are currently underway, if not already planned, are in execution. And so I wasn't too moved by a lot of the pronouncements. I do have some concerns in terms of how aspects of it is going to be treated when we are thinking of putting some of those into execution. And some of it has to do with, for instance, how it is that we are going to now deal with the $1 billion grant in such a way that it is equitable, that persons who are seeking to access it are going to be able to say that I'm 35 years old, I am seeking to get a mortgage. Is it a mortgage that's going to be on the private sector development, or is it NHT development? And that is something that I think I could not get from the presentation when I listened to it yesterday. The target of 50,000 houses over the next 5 years sounds similar to the target that has been set in the current dispensation, but there are some realities that met the current target that undoubtedly will face any party or any administration that is seeking to build houses, is that the absorptive capacity or the capacity of Jamaica to build houses at that rate is very challenging. And that is something that the NHT is noting. And there are many reasons why that is so. One has to do with the supply of labor. There is, in fact, a labor shortage in the construction industry that is impacting the rate of development. The input supply chain issues are impacting how it is houses are being built, the pace at which houses are being built. And of course, we can't escape the fact that a lot of the developers, given the demand for housing and the capacity of persons in the middle to upper income bands are buying houses, that they are unwilling to participate in the NHT programs to build houses because the price point for them in terms of profit is too low. These are some issues that have to be dealt with. I didn't see anything in the presentation that spoke to how it is that we are going to unencumber the National Housing Trust in that regard. Because right now, when I left, those are some of the major issues. I remember us sitting in a meeting and approving $44 billion worth of projects. But when it came time for us to implement the projects, we just did not have the capacity locally to do so. And we did engage overseas firms to look at them and see what they can do. But they too encountered difficulties in mobilizing workforce to get the developments going, and we are where we are now in terms of fact that the housing target is below what is supposed to be in terms of starts and completions.
Yeah, based on what, in your view, the country needs at this time, and based on what the PNP has been saying as a party agitating for government has been saying over some time, do you believe it was tactically the best move for the opposition leader to have made housing the centerpiece of his budget presentation?
Tactically, it is something that will appeal to a broad cross-section of the society. People are, in fact, in need of housing, and that's a fact. That's not something that we can escape. But there are some societal norms that have crept into our demographic that is causing the demand to look the way it is. One of it is that there's a lot of single female-headed households, that women are not in the mind, to so to speak, to start a family young, to start a family early. And so we are appealing to these persons who are under 35, for instance, who are single, and the family unit is not established. And so you have more persons are seeking shelter than by themselves, rather than coming together as a unit, as a couple, as a family to get those. We have situations that there are persons who their children have grown, and those children, instead of staying home longer, have decided that they are going out into the market to look for housing solution when they do have options in terms of staying home longer, and should stay home when they are ready to buy, but they are going out long before they're really ready to buy, and going into the market to compete with persons who have been there for a very long time.
Yeah.
And so we now have a demand situation that has been exacerbated by some changes in the demographic.
So here's the thing, O'Neill Grant. I'm not saying, obviously not, that housing isn't very important, but I'm just saying the centerpiece, because if you contrast what the opposition leader did in terms of the pivot point, well, the focal point of his presentation, which of course is housing, we're all agreeing, contrast that with the finance minister's presentation. She came with something that proposes to provide a benefit to at least 20,000 more Jamaicans who do not have legal light. Let's put it like that, yeah? So that is an immediate appeal to 20,000 Jamaicans potentially who do not have legal light. That's one. Then she said, okay, income tax threshold, which benefits several tens of thousands more. So if we are to commoditize benefits then, O'Neill Grant, you're talking about tens of thousands of people who have a commoditized benefit from the government coming out of a budget presentation in an election year. So I'm saying if you compare that to what the opposition leader made to be his centerpiece, something that the benefit is not as commoditized as legal light and the income tax threshold raise, but something that over time, maybe 3-4 years of the 5-year term, I may realize a benefit from the plan that you have laid out for housing. And that's why I was asking you about the matching concept of what his centerpiece was versus what the finance minister leading the government's charge, the centerpiece of her presentation was.
The finance minister's presentation was a lot broader.
For sure. But we're talking about the commoditized benefit that most people from the presentation are expecting a real benefit from if it is that they win the next election and go forward.
Right, but we have to compare apples with apples, George. And if I'm looking at housing, that's based on what the opposition leader presented, is going to be giving persons an instant equity of up to $3 million versus a tax threshold that is going to give persons $2,000 per month. The logical thing with that, persons will gravitate, even though the likelihood of them getting that $3 million is less than getting the $3 million. The value of that $3 million appeals to them more. And the fact is that people will consume $2,000 easily. Hence, the Minister of Finance's suggestion that people should seek to save and invest that extra money that they have, whichever way they want to. But in terms of housing, we're talking about equity, instant equity, once you put that key in that door and turn it as your own. So the prospect and the hope of persons around housing is a bigger driver of desire.
And here's the thing, I'm happy you reason it that way, O'Neill, because again, it's a reasoning I want people to understand. So the purpose of the question is not to assert what I think, but to get you to give an explanation that can settle the issue for people who have the same thought that informed my question. Because the issue is a commoditized benefit. You feel good because you're getting an income tax break, which isn't much really in your hand. You feel good because you have a pathway to legal light. And you'll say, well, guess what? I have to go through a series of steps to qualify for a house, to be able to access a mortgage, to be able to rustle up $500,000 plus the government's benefit to access a mortgage for my house, which is a longer term thing. I am more comfortable with the ready-made gains than something that I'm having to submit myself to a process to achieve at the end. But hold the point, I'm going to come back right after this and we can continue the conversation.
Join my private room. Only $1,000 for a grand time.
That I know me. We never said that. But who going to believe me?
That is correct. $4,350,000. Yes, go ahead. $4 million? I never approved that. Yes, me go doctor tomorrow. So me have to get the money today, no longer. Then no me face that. I never make no record or beg nobody no money.
Deepfakes are AI-generated images and videos made to look and sound like people we know and trust. They're used to spread misinformation, destroy reputations, and are used to commit fraud and scams. Don't fall victim to deepfakes. Protect yourself. For more information, visit broadcastingcommission.org or scan the QR code on screen.
TV talking about the opposition leader's presentation and reasoning through the ideas he has put on the table. I have with me a former member of the board of directors of the National Housing Trust, O'Neill Grant, a man who is steeped in the representational rights movement. He was the former president of the Jamaica Civil Service Association, the JCSA. Joining us is Lloyd B. Smith, the outstanding journalist from Out West, a member of the Press Association of Jamaica, an executive member to boot, and a good chap all around. Lloyd B., are you hearing us now? Can we hear you?
Yes, I'm hearing you, and you're being very kind. I don't know why.
You deserve more than charity, Lloyd B. You deserve more than charity. Here's my question to you then, my friend. It costs us nothing to be positive, so let's look at the opposition leader's presentation. What is it that you liked? What is it that you didn't like so much?
Well, what I liked most of all is that he set out to appeal to the ordinary Jamaican who has been going through, we know as a fact that many Jamaicans, notwithstanding the macroeconomic positive indicators, that there are many Jamaicans out there who are in fact feeling the pinch, going to the supermarket, paying their bills, finding money for transportation, finding money to go to doctor, etc., etc. And I therefore felt that the pain points that these people have been, focusing on and complaining about for some time, he zeroed in on them, and I thought that was a pragmatic step. Listening to your reasoning with my good friend here about the housing thing. What we need to bring into the discussion as well, is the socio-cultural aspect to goodies. Because, for example, when the finance minister announced the reprieve in light expenses and so on, a lot of the persons out there, from what I've gathered, were saying, well, notwithstanding the fact that they're going to get that benefit, they're going to still keep thieving the light. So we have to look, as I said, dig deeper into the psyche of the Jamaican people as to when we give them a goodie, is it really what we expect to get back or what they have in their own minds? And we are, in the very finalist, a land of Anansi. Housing, again, I think it's the biggest dream of most Jamaicans to be able to push a key into a lock and say, this is mine. And so again, I think his making that the centerpiece of his presentation was a good move. Of course, there are ifs and buts, and as usual, the devil is in the details. For example, and I don't know if my friend here could answer that question. The fact that the PMP says that it would stop taking money from the NHT, where is that money going to go and what is it going to be used for? Because the fact of the matter is that there's going to be the need for financing many of these ideas that he has, and it is not clear to me where he's going to be getting all that money from. And that is where the rubber hits the road.
O'Neill, I was waiting to put that one to you. Much has been said about the lack of a costing for these plans, and Lloyd B has again put that on the table. If you're going to stop what you're taking from the NHT, which of course the finance minister did say in her presentation as well, and the opposition leader, he didn't hide it. He said that in 2017, the JLP said it would take for 8 more years, 8 and 7, 15 to 2025, it would stop now anyway. So 11.4 billion back into the NHT's coffers, but you have a vision to do so many many things through housing and the lack of costings. People are saying that that's a significant demerit against the idea of the PNP's housing proposal. How do you see it?
The details were lacking. Yes, $11.4 billion going back into the NHT, but what are the programs that are going to be supported by the $11.4 billion? We have heard instances of some of them, $1 billion going back to, well, not going back, but going to young people. We have heard of reduction in interest rates to public sector workers, which is a sort of a subsidy on mortgages and so on. So we see that, but we don't see the quantification of it, if it's going to use up the $11.4 billion. What I suspect is that it will be an expansion. It could lead to an expansion in what the current NHT programs are.
Yes.
In that it has set aside $2 billion in its budget every year for subsidies.
Yes.
And grants. But it is for those persons who are earning minimum wage.
Yes.
The PNP plan speaks to expanding that grant program to persons, not only persons earning minimum wage, but for persons who are under 35, young professionals and so on, so that they can be able to buy a home under the deposit fund. My question is, and it wasn't in the details, is this fund going to be only for NHT built schemes, or is it a deposit grant for any home that these persons are going to purchase? Because it is seen clearly that based on the restrictions that NHT is facing, it cannot build the houses at the rate of demand out there, and so the private sector has to step in. Slack.
Excellent point.
Right. So it's something that needs to be answered, and I think when we get that answer, we'll set a clearer picture of what we are looking at.
Agree with that. Lloyd B, it's an election year. It's a budget like no other. I mean, there are many things that could have been excused in this round of debates many things could have been excused in previous years, but which people are very much demanding now. But I mean, all of that. When you watched Mark Golding yesterday and listened to what he had to offer, did he come across as a man ready to manage the problems that Jamaica is having and provide and produce better outcomes for the people? Did he strike you as that fellow?
Overall, I would want to think so. He is very experienced as a legislator. During his tenure as Minister of Justice, he did a tremendous amount of work.
Yes, he did.
And some of the policies and objectives of his party and himself will need appropriate legislation and so on and so forth. So I think he has the grasp of government, and he can bring to the table some amount of pragmatic approaches. My only concern is, and on the periphery, I sometimes wonder if he has the team, the sufficient team behind him to carry out some of these objectives.
Support. Only the grant time is almost up, but I ask you pretty much the same question. Did Mark Golding improve his stock coming out of Tuesday's presentation?
A very difficult question for me to answer. You know why that is, George.
Yeah.
But I would say that Mr. Golding has always presented himself as somebody who is well articulated, very articulate, who presents thoughts and plans clearly. Sometimes not in the level of detail that we would want, so that we can apply proper analysis to it.
Yes.
But in terms of the presentation yesterday, he touched the pulse of the people. He looked at what was the most desired thing that the persons out there have, the greatest desire, and he touched on it, which speaks to a little level of political savviness that any leader of any political party must display. And he did display that yesterday in terms of touching the pressure points that persons have. The question that will come down to the voter, when they do go to vote, is track record, who they think will have the best or the better track record in terms of how it is that they have governed and will govern, because that's going to be the deciding factor, I would think.
Absolutely.
But yesterday, I think the presentation was something that was very interesting, and people are going to be looking at it with great interest over the next couple of weeks and months.
Absolutely so. I always tell people a good idea is one that causes you to think and turn it over in your mind. That alone suggests that it's an idea that is worthwhile of the paper it's written on. Thank you, O'Neill Grant. Thank you, Lloyd. Be all the best to you, gentlemen.
Pleasure.
Yeah, that's my time on Lead Story. Bounding into the studio with boundless enthusiasm is Nika Lewis, and she's wearing, well, I won't tell you, it's a surprise. The news at 7 comes up next.
Here to cast a spell. Enough people will run into me on the road and I say, yes, they know me. And they say, Omar from the Virgos.
I used to listen to your music while I was studying for common entrance.
Yeah. Why not? Don't do that.
That gap in third form because I didn't.
You feel like they all be a third form? Do you miss having that life of an artist?
Why? I can answer that first.
My one solution is my queen, cause she stays strong.
The man have the kind of voice.
Auto-tune.
Hold on. You take the word out of the man coming like him swallow. Like, bro.
The Cut. Brought to you by Flow.
In a world where innovation meets tradition, agriculture is evolving like never before. From the latest sustainable farming technologies to age-old practices passed down through generation, agriculture is
precious to me.
I love the animals. I don't mind getting my hands dirty. I love working.
Join us right here on
Rise with Sunrise. Kickstart your day with Money Masterclass. Carlton's got the expertise. Then we pop by the kitchen with some breakfast-worthy seafood. And we'll wrap your morning with some kidspiration. You've never seen a sunrise quite like this.
You can open a Sagicor Bank savings account from anywhere. Go online and open yours today.
The time by Sagicor Bank is
7 o'clock.
CVM News at 7 Wednesday, courtesy of
Your Love Lives On with life insurance from Sagicor.
Tonight in CVM News at 7, PNP challenges Portmore Parish legislation in court. More reactions to opposition leaders' budget presentation. And we take a closer look at the numbers ahead of Decision 2025. In Living the Life Part 2 of Pressing Gas over 90. While in sports, FIFA lifts JFF restriction funding. From Kingston, Jamaica, this is CVM News at 7. I'm Nika Lewis. It's Wednesday, March 19, 2025. Thank you so much for joining us. The battle over Portmore's parish status has escalated to the courts. The opposition has launched a legal challenge arguing the move undermines democracy while the government defends it as a necessary step forward. Ramon Gordon has the details.
Current mayors of Portmore and St. Catherine were both duly elected in February last year. This bill will destroy the expressed will of the people.
The opposition is making good on its promise to legally challenge the government's move to make Portmore Jamaica's 15th parish. Opposition leader Ramon Gordon made the announcement during his budget presentation on Tuesday, revealing that the party filed a lawsuit on Monday to strike down the legislation.
Yesterday, we filed suit in the Constitutional Court to strike down the legislation.
Gordon again argues that the decision to move ahead with the legislation is an attack on democracy, insisting that Portmore's governance structure should not be altered without direct input of its residents.
Portmore enjoys unique participatory governance innovations. So they get to directly elect their mayor. They're the only community in Jamaica that does that.
I am able to vote for a member of parliament, and I am not able to vote for a mayor.
I am making a general point an accurate general point. She must know why she can't vote.
The 2003 Portmore Municipality Act does in fact allow Portmore citizens to directly elect a mayor. Gordon also accused the government of political maneuvering, claiming the change would force a realignment of electoral boundaries outside the established processes of the Electoral Commission of Jamaica.
Profound concerns with this approach have also been raised by the present and a former chairman of the Electoral Commission, by a former director of elections, all of whom have made it clear that if the implementation of the legislation is not halted, it will result in a constitutional crisis.
The legislation was passed with the government using its majority in both houses of parliament. The Jamaica Labour Party, however, maintains that granting parish status to Portmore is a natural step, reflecting its unique identity and economic growth. Here are government members in defence of the bill recently.
Every time they disagree, they want to go to court. There is nowhere in the bill that the question of establishing political boundaries were mentioned. That is not the dictate of the bill.
What is the negative drawback? When you speak about the development of Portmore becoming a parish, it means
The legal battle now heads to the Constitutional Court. Ramon Gordon for CVM News.
Still on the political scene, opposition leader Mark Golding made his budget presentation on Tuesday, the second of two presentations for the opposition to set the tone for what the party intends to bring to the table. Trishagaye Kelly has that story.
So we've had political analysts compare the before and after for the opposition leader's budget presentation. We've also heard the expectations going into the presentation and the reactions following same. And while Mr. Golding provided the what and the why for his plans, the reactions suggest that the how he was going to carry out these plans was missing from his presentation.
Opposition leader Mark Golding's budget presentation on Tuesday was one that was highly anticipated, with many Jamaicans waiting to hear what the opposition has in store for the country. Even before the presentation, political commentators like Lloyd B. Smith were already urging Golding to keep it professional.
He has never sat in Jamaica House. He has never won a general election. So to some extent, Golding is an unknown quantity. And so he has to use this opportunity to thrust himself into the living rooms of the Jamaican people and show who he really is. What is his vision? What is his roadmap? You know, and stay away, as I said, from the tribal and petty politicking.
And Golding did reel out his party's plans should the opposition be put in power again. But among his many ideas, political commentator Sondre Roden says there is one that stands out.
The housing point is a point where I think he would have scored marks on, because he would have proposed basically different plan in a way for how the PNP would look at getting housing to younger people and look at how they'd be getting housing to civil servants, etc. Now, mind you, despite the fact that that's different and it may be different from the government's own plans, remember that government also is doing a bunch of things as it relates to housing.
But with the opposition proposing similar plans as the government, Roden explains this is where the fine print will make a difference.
What it really comes down to is the nitty-gritty of those policies, because the policy prescriptions were very, I'd say, high level, and I guess people say, well, it's a budget presentation, what do you expect? But for some of the major things that he announced or explained, I feel that there would have been a need to particularly drill down on how he sees the spend going, or where is the money coming from, how will the money be spent. And when a leader actually goes into a ministry and sees what they have to deal with, that is when they now can decide, okay, this idea that I thought that I can implement or I can't implement, that's when they get to make those real, meaningful decisions.
Trishagaye Kelly, CVM News.
In other news now, the hurricane season is fast approaching, and the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, short ODPEM, is seeking to boost its operations by prioritizing inventory management. Now, this comes in response to a 2024 Auditor General's performance review that revealed the Disaster Preparedness Agency had critical flaws in its governance and financial management, jeopardizing ODPEM's ability to achieve its mandate. Courteney Lewis has that story.
The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, is shifting gears, now prioritizing its management of national relief supplies stored for post-disaster assistance. The move comes after a 2024 Auditor General's report revealed a $3.9 million loss in supplies to mold and pests.
We have ensured that we have also taken steps to ensure that we are doing proper labeling of our items to ensure that we can account specifically for our first in, first out operation.
They've also moved to tackle a human resource crisis, providing training for warehouse staff. The agency is undergoing an organizational review alongside the local government ministry, seeking to ramp up its recruitment.
In looking at the overall reorganization of the ODPEM, that we flip it to ensure that there are strong technical complement. Our establishment is 93, and so we are trying to expand.
And what's the current complement out of 93?
The current strength is about 67.
But concerns surrounding misinformation in light of natural disasters linger. The Public Accounts Committee chairman probed a perceived lack of communication by the agency.
And we are in an information age where all kinds of information get circulated from different sources. Sometimes it creates hysteria, and people look to the ODPEM as the authority to say, well, this not go so or this goes so. But, certainly there's been, I would say, a lack of timely communication.
But the ODPEM director says they've taken the steps to address the concern.
We are expanding on our social media reach. That's one of the areas where you will get early information, and also you can get disinformation. So we have expanded on that to ensure that we have the necessary support, and to also ensure, and the org review will address it as well, additional support in our corporate communication apparatus.
Courteney Lewis for CVM News.
In a review of policies to JPS customers, Energy Minister Darrell Vaz gave a stern warning to individuals who opt to access electricity through illicit means. Adrian Williams tells us more.
Energy Minister Darrell Vaz in a recent media briefing announced changes for Jamaica Public Service customers in 2025. This after Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Favour Williams, in her recent budget presentation announced a $1 billion allocation to assist the first 20,000 JPS prepaid customers. But Minister Vaz has a warning.
If 10 households that have been wired and 9 of them connect to JPS and 1 doesn't, the good is going to suffer for the bad. So again, for those communities and people that are benefiting, you have to be your own watch person to make sure that persons in their community that have benefited from this connect to JPS.
And much of it will assist infrastructure and more.
The $1 billion will go towards paying for house wiring and inspection in order to get those with illegal connections to get legally and safely connected to the JPS grid.
With a stern warning on power theft, the minister is anticipating the company's further relief to customers.
With a reduction of the general consumption tax on electricity 7% for the prepaid customers, while postpaid residential customers will see an elimination of the 150 kilowatt hours threshold, and this will be replaced by a rebate for postpaid customers who use up to 250,000 kilowatt hours of electricity.
This means for postpaid customers under the total electricity charges, the taxable portion for usage above 150 kilowatt hours will be removed. The changes are set to take effect on May 1, 2025. Adrian Williams for CVM News.
CVM News at 7 continues in a moment.
Standing tall and strong, Sagicor celebrates International Women's Day all month long. For her day, her deals. 7,500 bonus points on new Sagicor Bank credit cards. Special rates on auto loans and mortgages. Discounted trading fees from Sagicor Investments. A free dash cam or tire inflator with Ultimate Woman Auto Insurance from Advantage General Insurance. Plus, tailored products like our Sagicor Life Total Woman Life Insurance Plan. Accelerate action towards financial empowerment. Call 888 Sagicor. Conditions apply.
Come rise with sunrise. Kickstart your day with Money Masterclass. Carlton's got the expertise. Then we pop by the kitchen with some breakfast-worthy seafood. And we'll wrap your morning with some kidspiration. You've never seen a sunrise quite like this.
Attention motorists, it's time to switch to the T-Tag on Trans-Jam highways. The T-Tag system reduces the amount of cash handled at our toll plazas and makes it safer for our staff and motorists at the toll booths. The T-Tag makes it quicker, more cost-efficient, and safer for our customers. So switch to the T-Tag today and experience the convenience. T-Tag packages are discounted to only $1,500, including a $500 toll credit from now until March 31st.
Welcome back. So as the 2025 general election approaches, CVM News is committed to delivering insights that will illuminate key statistics and trends shaping the electoral landscape. The focus on delivering insight with accuracy and clarity, ensuring that you are well informed. CVM's head of news, Andre Jebinson, now joins us with Numbers Don't Lie.
So tonight we want to share with you 6 numbers. We're not making any proclamations. We're not making any predictions. We're just supplying you with the numbers so you can draw whatever conclusion you want to draw. The first number that we want to talk about is 63. That one is pretty simple, pretty basic. There are 63 constituencies spread across 14 parishes in Jamaica. 14 parishes. So the first party that is going to get to 32 will go on to form the next government. If it's the Jamaica Labour Party, they will go on to a 3rd consecutive term. If it's a PNP or the People's National Party, they will be out of the wilderness after 2 consecutive elections. So what happened in 2020, the last general election? The Jamaica Labour Party walked away with 49 seats, a landslide victory for the party. So looking ahead to 2025, if the Jamaica Labour Party does not pick up an additional seat, they can still afford to lose up to 17 seats without losing the election or retaining power. So their eyes will be on retaining most of the seats that they have now, but remembering this 17 that they can't go above. If they go above that, of course, it makes life much easier for the People's National Party. But speaking about the People's National Party, in 2020, they only won 14 seats. So if they're to get to this 32 that they need to form the next government, they will have to pick up at least 18 seats while still retaining the 14 that they have. It seems like an uphill task for the People's National Party, but this would not be the first time that they would have climbed out of a hole. In fact, both political parties have had their fortunes changed after suffering a landslide defeat.
For example, in recent vintage 2016, the JLP rebounded after a blowout in 2011, plus 11 seats. The JLP did that 14 years prior, gaining 16 seats after a poor showing in 1997. They did not win that 2002 election though. But get this, in 1989, the PNP roared back with 45 seats from 0 after sitting out the 1983 election. Plus 38 for the JLP in 1980 and plus 17 in 72, the PNP turning the tables on the JLP.
So there you have it, 63 constituencies in the country. Each political party is trying to get to the magical number of 32. Any party that gets to 32, they will form the next government. Last election, the Jamaica Labour Party got 49 seats. They can lose up to 17, still maintain government, even if they do not pick up a seat from the People's National Party. People's National Party, they have a hill to climb. They currently have 14 seats. If they maintain the 14 seats they currently have, they need to pick up at least 18 seats in order to form the next government. We will continue to track some of these previous numbers and bring them to you so you can make whatever sense you want to make out of them. Andre Jebinson for CVM News.
The Jamaica Labour Party is looking to retain its hold on the Northwest Clarendon seat in the upcoming general elections. But the party will have to choose among 3 interested representatives, 2 of whom are first-time aspirants. Trishagaye Kelly has that report.
The Jamaica Labour Party is ramping up campaigning efforts in Clarendon as the country inches closer to general elections. The party visited Northwest Clarendon recently to promote a new candidate with a familiar face. Warren Newby is one of 3 JLP members ready to vie for the constituency, currently under the JLP's hold. But his fellow party members believe he has earned his rightful place to represent the constituency.
All of you, poor hard workers for the Labour Party, know that Warren was here for 2007 and helped led the charge in bringing home this constituency for the Jamaica Labour Party. I don't know just reach business. I don't know how it come up.
If selected, Newby will go up against the PNP's Richard Azan in the upcoming general elections. However, MP for Southwest St. Elizabeth Floyd Green says the PNP's candidate is no match for Newby.
It is clear in my mind that the other side don't respect Northwest Clarendon. Because if you respect Northwest Clarendon, how could you be putting up a man that the first time him win was in 2002? Them the time them is still at university. You have put up a man where him already get 3 terms. Where he can't do that 3 term, he can't do again.
Alongside his party members, Newby remains confident he can take on the challenge despite being absent from politics for over a decade.
I'm so thankful for the welcome that I've gotten since I've returned here January 28th of this year.
You take too long, sir.
Some say I took too long, but nothing before the right time. And when the calls became incessant, we came, we are present, and we are going nowhere. And they know that when we turn up, action is here.
This venture will mark Newby's first foray into representational politics. Trishagaye Kelly, CVM News.
In this report coming out of St. Thomas, a mother weeps for her son who was reportedly shot dead by police at his home yesterday. Parts of the interaction caught on camera have left many believing he was killed in cold blood, but Indicom's insisting much could be resolved with the use of body-worn cameras in these events. For this mother, it's a morning she dreads and wishes to never have to remember, the day she lost her son. He was fatally shot by the police at home. She shares this is not the first time this year that the police have sought him out, but says nothing came of those interactions.
Then threatening said them I go kill him, and then come this morning, say down and kill him. Boy, may I tell you, me I water nah go so, that's all me know. Me I water nah go so. I'm back in a coming at if you know really, we can't even believe I'm dead, you know. Me have to ask good if you really dead, you know. May I tell you.
The final incident unfolded at 6:45 Tuesday morning off Clooney Road in Whitehall, St. Thomas, when some 14 police, during a special operation caught on camera, surrounded the victim's one-bedroom dwelling and summoned him. Neighbors watched in fright at points, urging the man now identified as 26-year-old construction worker Franklin Hyman, also called Connie, to comply.
Franklin, come out of us! Sir, make him come out! What you mean for what? Franklin, come out of us! Jesus! Franklin! Jesus Christ! Then we'll walk in there.
The police reports say upon reaching the home of the now deceased, they knocked. Occupants reportedly answered, and shuffling was heard inside. After about 2 minutes, police say the door was not opened, but later when the police entered, Hyman allegedly attempted to disarm one of them, which resulted in him being shot by another lawman. Hyman was rushed to the Princess Margaret Hospital where he was pronounced dead. A subsequent search of the dwelling resulted in the seizure of one 9mm pistol with a magazine containing 4 9mm rounds at his bedside. Meantime, Indicom Assistant Commissioner Hamish Campbell says much could have been clarified had the police worn body cameras.
There were multiple police officers, and all we seek is the body-worn camera, and then it wouldn't require citizens to seek to film overtly, discreetly or covertly, because that is how transparency is going to be achieved. And we have different accounts, not from this account, as well as the other shootings which were taking place on the 17th of March, the 16th of March, the 15th of March, the 14th of March, and the 10th of March. Almost a shooting every day this week and into last week. So it requires somehow the police, which we have said time and time again, to wear these body-worn cameras and provide reassurance to public and confidence that what they say is occurring.
We take a quick one. We'll be right back.
It's all about you. Sign up or pay your bills to stay active for a chance to win a luxurious all-expense paid trip for two to Royalton, Antigua. With round-trip flights on us, every week you could win exciting prizes. Event tickets, gym memberships, spa packages, excursion adventures, restaurant vouchers, and more. When you opt in on the My Digicel app, life your way starts now with Digicel. Better connected.
Welcome back. The stories of brokenness, then or now, are openly mixed into the thrills of love, becoming lessons worth sharing. Our 91-year-old out of Decoy, St. Mary, speaks of scars and chances he took. Pointer to how he's now living the life. Carolyn Brown picks up with part 2 of her visit.
Living the life defies time and laws, surpasses storms, hurricanes, wars, recession.
Carlton, Father Matt McLaren has been there, done that, yes. And the window to his past remains wide open, like his photographic memory as sharp as ever. However, if today was the day back in 1953 when he went for his driver's license using a trafficator instead of an indicator, he would probably want to forget this.
The time when you get license, you have to know what you're doing now. I mean, take a pack of cigarette, a pack of Royal Blend, and a pack of Forest for carry for him. Now, I carry bribe me enough, true. Well, I call him bribe too, but true, I know him and them people, he hardly come out for the same place they examine us. Where it is now at Portmore. So they carry it and I give it to him. And he said, what do you want to do? You want to bribe me? Remember the exact word. I said, no.
Shifting gears now as an established Justice of the Peace JP, Father Mac maintains a lasting history with his first love, automobiles, still steering his own motor vehicle, unlike the dramatic episodes with affairs of the heart.
My first marriage was, what do you call it, unequally yoked. I got 3 children with the first wife. I mean, divorced by 1974 because she wasn't a lover like. She want when me go to the hog pen, she want be down at the hog pen. She want jump up. Me said, no, me don't want them kind of, you're a woman, me want love and my boys and do the work. Cause you saw plenty of people work with me. Oh, she rough. She now no time for relax and thing and woke up and them the shit. No, me about stab marker, but she stabbed me and all them thing there. Then another incident happened.
And it happened that they end up in the court and the judge gave me the right.
He says a fight with his pregnant bride at their wedding reception was a sign ignored, and his second marriage was another saga.
So we get married to her right in at this house. After the first couple days, we get married because she go back to America and she glad for her man. Then she married and divorced already to have 3 children. So the trick was she wanted me to mortgage this place and get the money for she came to America. That money was easy for go to America. And I said, no, that not happen. You have your children where you have a fee and you picnic them. So I said, and when me have a fee, me and me picnic them.
Despite that showdown, 3 days after tying the knot, it was Florida here I come for the then struggling businessman. Still to come, more on his takeaway lessons in the name of love, including how a hat saved his life from another onslaught.
See one.
I can remember you.
Yeah, you know that.
I'm Curlin Brown for Living the Life, CVM News.
Living the life defies time and laws, surpasses storms, hurricanes, wars, recession.
We would have tried a waltz, but Jordan can't dance. So before the break, we are going to ask Jordan Fort for a look ahead in sports.
Well, you know, sports is really a dance. And coming up in sports this evening, we're going to be talking about Grand Slam track. Champs athletes are set to participate in Grand Slam track, that exciting event, of course, spearheaded by Michael Johnson, which takes place just a week after Champs. So we'll give you more details on that in sports.
And
plus, we're also talking about several other things in sports, including football, JPL midweek, so on and so forth. So you don't want to miss it.
Absolutely not. But we take that break now.
Whatever the crunch you want with KFC's popcorn chicken. Now available in hot and spicy. KFC, it's finger licking good. The time by KFC is
7:30.
Real Parish, I go give you plenty healthy ways to switch up your meals. Fresh flavor that we need. A new recipe every day of the week. And look how good me feel. Come catch the vibe. Real Parish, catch the seafood vibe.
Welcome, the Wizard of Love. I'm here to cast a spell. Enough people run into me on the road and I say, yes, they know me. And they say, Omar from the Virgos.
I used to listen to your music while I was studying for common entrance.
Why not? Don't do that.
That gap in third form because I didn't.
You feel like they all be a third form? Do you miss having that life of an artist? Why? I can answer that first. My one solution is my queen, cause she stays strong. The man have the kind of voice.
Auto-tune.
Hold on. You take the word out of him. The man coming like him swallow. Like, bro.
The Cut, brought to you by Flow.
It's over now to Joel Crosskill with the Business Report.
Lots to share with you in the business report today. When considering the credence of the significant uptick in business confidence reported in the most recent JCC Business and Consumer Confidence Survey, which, once again, found access to capital for SMEs as a persistent, if not chronic concern, with approximately half of those canvassed conveying a need. The invitation to break bread with Bruce Bowen, Chief Executive Officer at National Commercial Bank Jamaica Limited NCBJ, following the launch of the NCB SME Growth Fund, a $1 billion initiative that sees a general reduction of rates on all SME loan products, provided the opportunity to better appreciate why NCB had taken the initiative in directly lowering borrowing costs for small businesses.
As the largest financial institution in Jamaica, we don't have the luxury of being a niche player. We've got to support all sectors of the economy. You know, we're 32 to 35% of the market in loans and deposits, depending on what types of loans and what types of deposits. We're about 42% of the capital base in the industry. We're the largest branch network, the largest ABM network. We're over 50% of the payments in the country. So we can't be a niche player. And so if we're going to be supporting building a better Jamaica, we need to be looking at the SME sector as well. As we were talking about it at the executive level, said, look, we really should get, we need to be doing something to respond to, the calls from Bank of Jamaica, from the government, from many associations about the decline, the 100 basis point decline in market rates, and what were the banks doing to respond.
SME industry groups, along with business owners and entrepreneurs, were provided the eligibility criteria by Executive Vice President of NCB's Retail Banking Division, Perrin Gale.
So we actually only have 3 eligibility criteria. 1, business with revenues between 15 and 425 million, be registered for at least 2 years and being in business for a year. So it's basically saying most of our established businesses can participate. The criteria would be very similar to other facilities that we have. So the real distinction for the fund is really the reduction that we're providing in interest rates to help the community to grow. So we decided on what the rate should be for secured lending and our unsecured lending. And looking at where the established rates were, that's how we came up with up to 3%. So it's really a reduction of about 300 basis points across most products. I believe in one era it was a little more, one maybe a little less, but it was to bring everything down to around 975.
However, according to Bowen, NCB has been placing additional focus on enriching its support of the SME sector for the past 18 months.
Rates isn't everything. We got to be doing a lot of things and continuing it. We're providing that support. What more do we need to do? We have to do more training and designated of our relationship people that are interacting with SMEs through the whole process. And this is something every bank went through of, what do you pull out of branches and centralize? What do you leave in branches? And I think somewhere in there, particularly the SME segment, lost some of the human touch that was in there interacting. And we need to, even beyond interest rates, look at what we internally say, time to cash on loans. The process from a request to an approval and a disbursement just takes much too long. So there's a big focus internally going into the next year.
But the BR could not refrain from wondering if and when the micro-scale entrepreneurs, less than $15 million in revenue, would get similar attention for access to capital. And it seems as though the NCB CEO has been as well.
I do think as a bank, there's opportunities for us to continue to move down market. How far into the micro space, I'm not sure, because to deliver well to the micro sector, you need a lot of data, because you can't be personally adjudicating every loan. You just have to say, in these data sets, if someone looks like this, your probability of default is low. And we, if anyone, have a lot of data. So as we pull that together, I think should be able to move down. And should be, I believe it's something we can leverage to just make the decision-making process quicker.
And that was your business report. I'm Joel Crosskill.
Now for a glance at social media. Hi, let's have a look at what's been exciting on social media today. Church's Texas Chicken, a global fast food restaurant, is winging its way to Jamaica with a new location slated for Mall Plaza in St. Andrew by the third quarter of 2025 and plans for further expansion across the island. Here are some of your reactions.